Praise. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
All right. Previously, we went over the definition of war. Title of today's lesson again is SATC, Weapons of Our Warfare, Part 2. Previously, we went over the definition of war. It's a state of armed conflict between different groups within a nation or state. A state of competition, conflict, or hostility between different people or groups. A sustained effort to deal with or end a particular unpleasant or undesirable situation or condition. These are all definitions of war. But what does it mean to be armed? Armed, equipped with or carrying a weapon or weapons. For example, heavily armed troops. Also, supplied with equipment, tools, or items in preparation or readiness for something. For example, he is armed with a list of questions. So, as we think on weapons of our warfare, remember to be armed is to be equipped with or supplied with something in preparation or readiness for something. Romans 5 and 19. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. So because of one, sinners came into the world, and because of one, uprightness or righteous ones come forth. Are these two different types of people? Are they in existence at the same time? So is there reason to believe conflict could or may arise? Two different type of people groups, and all it takes is a little rift. Warfare. Would you rather engage in war, armed or unarmed? It's just something to think about. We all have the ability to do both right and wrong, good and evil. So if we all have the capacity to bring forth evil or uprightness, and we'd rather war armed, we should learn what instead of who we're warring against. Because if we're all capable of either this or that, it don't really seem like it's people that we're up against. Say that because you can't use a gun against bacteria. It ain't gonna help you. Nor will antibiotics prevail against decapitation. Got to realize what we're fighting against so that we can make the right decision on how we should fight. Mm-hmm. Know what you're fighting, choose your weapons and strategies accordingly. What I believe we're up against is what some would call the evil inclination. They're the ideas that show up encouraging us to do wrong, to overindulge, to seek instant gratification. These urges want you to fall into temptation. So they highlight anything that could be perceived as valuable within that temptation. These inclinations or urges would have us only look at what we want now without considering the fallout or consequence to our actions. All these things, these pathways that said inclinations want you to travel, is childlike behavior. Most have seen an image of a person with a decision to make. Got the devil on one side and the angel on the other, both setting forth the perspective on why their way best suits the individual. The angel represents the conscience, the devil represents temptation. This imagery is used for dramatic or humorous effect. They show the existence of both the good and the evil inclination. So, how do we choose between them? It's got to be based on reason, right? Again, the definition of reason is a cause or explanation or justification for something. The inclinations are common to all mankind, yet when one enters or strives to enter the narrow path of uprightness, the evil inclination seems to work overtime, trying to throw you off. Yet it can only throw you off if you accept it. We literally have to grab hold to it, taking it as our own, before it can be used against us. In the courts of Yah. Which brings us to Matthew chapter 4. Matthew chapter 4, we'll look at verses 1 through 11. Then was Yahusha led up of the Ruach into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If you be the son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahuwah. Then the devil took him up into the holy city and set him on a pinnacle of the temple. And he said unto him, If you be the son of Elohim, cast yourself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning you. And in their hands they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone. Yahusha said unto him, It is written again, You shall not tempt Yahuwah Eloheka. Again the devil took him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and said unto him, All these things will I give you, if you fall down and worship me. Then said Yahusha unto him, Get you hence, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship Yahuwah Eloheka, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. All praises. Back in verse 4, the comeback to the inclination to turn stones to bread because he was hungry. What was the comeback? It is written. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, referring to Deuteronomy chapter 8. Knowing the Torah is a weapon Knowing the Torah is a weapon of our warfare. Knowing Yahuwah and his expectations haven't changed is also a weapon that we can use to defend ourselves. Apply Torah as a filter to all you hear, think, and speak. It's my suggestion. Let's look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, 14 and 15. Ecclesiastes 3, 14 and 15. It reads, I know that whatsoever Elohim does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And Elohim does it, that men should fear before him. That which has been is now, and that which is to be has already been. And Elohim requires that which is past. So again, knowing Torah as a weapon of our warfare, and also knowing Yahuwah and his expectations of us haven't changed. Studying to learn Torah shows our willingness to understand. It is a form of submission. Let's look at Daniel chapter 10. We'll read 1 through 12. Daniel 10 and 1. In the 3rd year of Koresh, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belshazzar. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks, and I ate no pleasant bread. Neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And in the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is called Chiddekel, then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quaking fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. Therefore I was left alone, and saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for my comeliness was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength. Yet heard I the voice of his words, and when I heard the voice of his words, then was I in a deep sleep on my face, and my face toward the ground. And behold, a hand touched me, which set me up upon my knees, and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto you, and stand upright. For unto you am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that you did set your heart to understand and to chasten yourself before your Elohim, your words were heard, and I am come for your words. In verses 2 and 3, it says Daniel was mourning and fasted 3 full weeks. We just previously read that the Messiah had fasted 40 days and nights. Touch back on that later on. Verses 4 through 7. Daniel alone saw the vision. Why? Why did he alone see the vision? That is a question. Feel free to answer. You don't have to. But it is right there in the text.
I was going to say,
Go for it.
I was going to say, because I think the Malachim answered it, because he the one that set his heart to understand.
All praises. All praises. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 He was prepared for the visitation. Absolutely. A great quaking, not a great faking. A great quaking fell on the others, so they fled to hide themselves. Same thing happened in another place. Genesis 3 and 10. A great quaking fell upon him at the presence of Yahuwah. I will say, study to show your own understanding approved in this. But it is my belief that there are records kept in the heavens of all our rights and wrongs. All the rights and wrongs we have personally brought forth. In the presence of Yahuwah, In his all-seeing light, our wrongs are laid before us, not able to be overlooked, forgotten, or ignored. We are naked before his eyes. Now, if these things have not been addressed and made right with the Most High, you can't stand in his presence. That's my belief. You'll automatically flee. Goes back to that primitive nature, preservation of self. No, you can't stand in his presence, so you got to be out. On the other hand, if those unseemly things have been addressed and he has granted you pardon, you may be able to stand in humility bearing your shame. Now, the shame's still going to be there, but that only helps you be more humble. But if those things ain't been addressed or dealt with, you can't stand in his presence. Again, I say, study to show your own understanding approved in these matters. But that's my belief, according to how that works, based off personal experience and what we get from the text. Because sometimes his presence will show up unannounced, and all you feel is like guilt and shame of past wrongs. But then if you're able to stay in the pocket and examine whether or not those things have been dealt with, and if the boxes are checked, yes, that they have been dealt with, then all that anxiety kind of subsides and you realize you're in his presence. And now if he wants you to study, whatever the case might be, you can be led to do whatever it is he wants you to do. Sometimes that's how his presence showed up, to where, like he said, all the comeliness in me was gone. Anything I thought highly about, it didn't exist. Not his presence. If those unseemly things have been addressed and he has granted you pardon, you may be able to stand in humility, bearing your shame. This takes us to Ezekiel chapter 16. Ezekiel 16, verses 60 through 63. Then we'll come back to Daniel 10, Father willing. Why, thank you. I'll save it so I don't choke. I'm already tripping over my own words. So, Ezekiel chapter 16, 60 through 63. You tap into it, it can be a life hack to help you in this warfare. Verse 60. Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with you in the days of your youth, and I will establish unto you an everlasting covenant. Then you shall remember your ways and be ashamed when you receive your sisters and your elder and your younger. And I will give them unto you for daughters, but not by your covenant. And I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. That you may remember and be confounded, and never open your mouth anymore because of your shame. So all that presumptuous speaking, talking outside of our neck, talking without considering the fallout, all that stuff's supposed to be put away if we just remember our shame. When I am pacified towards you for all that you have done, says Adonai Yahuwah. Praises. Back to Daniel 10. Looking at verses 8 through 12. All praises. All praises. It's a much needed reminder to revisit that after we get to the end of verse 12 to show the correlation about how and when the help shows up.
All praises. No, I was saying I skipped it in the try to go back and then like skip the Daniel portion.
All praises. I needed that.
All praises.
Said from the first day that you set your mind to understand and to chasten yourself, not to wait to be corrected, but to chasten yourself. I think it's in 1 Corinthians, but it's not too far after it talks about I have not seen, ear have not known. You read down a little bit further and it says basically a spiritual man judges all things, but he himself is judged by none. It doesn't mean he's above consequence of the law, but it means just this. The spiritual man, part of what makes him spiritual is he's unsought out to chasten himself.
Mhm.
So now there's no reason for somebody else to have to chasten him or check him unless he done got comfortable, like I had before, and then his foot start to slip. And that's why even after we get into certain grooves, it's important not to get comfortable because then you don't check all your boxes, and the next thing you know, your drawers are showing. Shameful. And to chasten yourself before your Elohim, your words were heard, and I am come for your words. So power from on high will come forth on your behalf. As you set your mind to understand and make yourself chaste and pay your righteous vows to your allure. Come for your words. See, John, forgive me. Back to Matthew 4. About to skip it again. Just the last verse, I think Matthew 4:11. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. The help is waiting, looking to see what we're going to choose to do. If we choose to engage those wicked thoughts that want to show up and get us to commit to the wrong things, if we choose to engage and compete against them, then help will come to us from on high. But we gotta put some skin in the game first. All praises. Now, just quickly, I want to look at John 9:31. Because he said your words were heard. And this is going to tell us whose words won't be heard. John 9:31. Now we know that Yahuwah hears not sinners. But if any man be a worshiper of Yah and does his will, him he hears. Another witness to this is in Proverbs 28 and verse 9.
That's right.
Proverbs 28 and verse 9. He that turns away his ear from hearing the Torah, even his prayer shall be abomination. Now, a little bit later, we'll address, how a little confusion might set in if we are just getting to know Yahuwah. And we know we in a bad way, and he still answers a prayer. It doesn't make this a lie. It's just a part of his nature that's not being fully understood.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk on that a little bit later. Studying the Torah to learn to perform it shows our willingness to understand. It is a form of submission to our Alua. When we make up our mind to go forward and war against our personal evil inclinations, we are accompanied and equipped or armed with help from on high, armed and dangerous. Studying to know truth is a weapon of our warfare. Torah teaches us standards, values, and virtues. These things give us a reason, developing our reasoning. Now, if our mind is cloudy, our reasoning may become skewed or unclear. This brings us back to fasting. In one instance, it was 3 weeks. In another, it was 40 days, 40 nights. Studies show fasting can have a significant impact on one's mental clarity and focus. When a body is in a fasted state, it experiences a decrease in insulin levels, an increase in glucagon levels, resulting in the body switching to a fat-burning mode, which can lead to a greater sense of alertness and focus. If you find yourself inclined to give in to a suggestion of evil, go on a fast, coupled with prayer and studying Torah. Knowing the inclination will show up again, Measure how you do the next time it shows up after setting yourself apart to fast, study, and pray. Adjust your fast accordingly. So, know what's written. That's one weapon of our warfare. Study to understand what's written is another weapon, because there's a difference between knowing what's written, being able to recite it, like a, as one elder would say, a talking parrot. And there's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother thing to study to understand what has been written, what's been lost in translation, what's really supposed to be perceived by the believer. Another weapon is to fast for clarity of what's really important and essential. Like just personally, that's something that I've noticed, even on a carnal level, is my mind adjusts to what's really essential. When I'm, done got past day one and I'm on a fast, and it's like, you know what, I don't need as much as I be running around like I do need to get by. Yeah, for higher energy levels, yeah, but right now I'm cool, cool. Like it helps clear up the mind and decision making and stuff like that.
I was gonna,
Take your time.
I was gonna add to it and just kind of say, just from our own experiences, just adding to that, and from our own experiences, fat when fasting is literally like you'll, and this is just for anybody who's not familiar with fasting or haven't dealt with fasting as often or whatever, what have you, and even people who have fasted continuously or regularly, if you just hadn't for a while, you kind of forgot or forget. You go through a period of time where you feel like, no, I have to have something. I have to have something. And I know for me personally, I feel like I'm going to throw up. It's like, it's weird. It seems counterintuitive or counterproductive. Like if I'm fasting, I haven't eaten anything, why would I feel like I need to throw up? Well, because your body's trying to do whatever it can to make you, like, this is just your body system kicking in, doing whatever it can to make you try to satiate it, to make you try to, give in or give it what it thinks it's going to need. And it's literally that point that you have to get to or get through to to be able to say no, I can do this. Because, and for different people it happens at different times. I think day two for me is usually when it happens. I'll fast for a day and it's just kind of like, oh, hunger pains, whatever. Then day two, excuse me, day two, then it's like, no, I'm about to throw up. I'm really about to, like, I'm going through with food withdrawal or something like that. That's what it is. Uh-huh. It's food, it's withdrawal. And that's wild to think about it, but withdrawal from food, like, yeah, food is an addiction to some people, self included. It just is what it is. They make this stuff with so much stuff in it and so much sugars, fats, all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm.
Addiction ain't that far away.
Yep. And then usually about day three is when I'm in the clear and my body kicks in, and that feeling what you're talking about it's strong. You get like a burst of energy. You feel like, nah, I can do this. Not only can I do this, I could do this for another day. Not only can I do this for another day, I could probably do this for another 2 days. I'm cool. I got enough stored up. I'm straight. Give me a glass of water if you drink water or whatever. And after about 3 days, it's like, I don't even want to eat no whole bunch or whatever it was like I was eating before, because you also find, for me, I also find that my capacity to intake is lessened quite a bit as well. So you get the mental clarity, you get the chastening, and you get the you have a lower capacity to intake a lot of crap. And yeah, just speaking and adding to like what you were talking about, that feeling like we were talking about. So yeah, for anybody who might not be familiar or haven't fasted in a while, it's absolutely doable to fast, and it's a process. And what the scripture says, it's a thing that's like common to all of us who kind of fast. Like we go through those ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and it's not the end of the world. You can do it.
Yeah, all praises. Clarity of mind plus knowledge, wisdom, and understanding gives us a fighting chance to defend ourselves and loved ones. Dead unto sin. Let's look at Romans 6, 1 through 11. Dead unto sin.
You said 1 through 11.
Yes, sir. And thank you. Torah. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Never. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know ye not that so many of us, as were immersed unto Yahusha, Hamashiach, were immersed into his death? Therefore we are buried with him in Therefore we are buried with him by immersion into death, that like as Mashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. That's the goal right there. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Literally, ain't nobody in the grave bringing forth sin. Now, if we be dead with Mashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Mashiach, being raised from the dead, dies no more. Death has no more dominion over him. Hallelujah. When you read in Deuteronomy 28, verse 1, and the light bulb goes off, if you do X, Y, Z, I'll set you on high above the nations. So the oppression that can come forth when you ain't in right standing with the Father is a form of death, but not for righteousness' sake. And it has dominion over you. Something about this captivity.
That part.
Death has no more dominion over him. For in that he died unto sin once. But in that he lives unto Yahuwah. Likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto Yahuwah through Yahushua HaMashiach, our Adonai. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield ye. Forgive me. I went further than I wanted to. But that's okay.
Yeah.
That is all right. Dead unto sin is a conscious decision. We talked previously about ideas and people protecting ideas that have value. It's a conscious decision or idea we must fight to bring to fruition or to maturity. The decision to no longer live unto or be motivated by sin or sinful urges. When something is dead, it is no longer alive. You ever try to plug an electrical cord into an outlet that doesn't have power flowing to it? Did the device the cord belonged to get any power from the dead outlet? Nope. That's what the result should be when evil tries to plug into a servant of Yahuwah. Shouldn't get any power from it. We should be dead unto sin. The word tells us sin by definition is transgression of the law. In another place, he that knows to do good and does it not, to him it is sin. In another place, the thought of foolishness is sin. All praises. Let's look at Revelations 21. Revelations 21, 6 through 8. All praises. All praises. Revelations 21 and 6. And he said unto me, it is done. I am the Aleph and the Tav. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the fearful, and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. What did he just tell us in Romans 6? That because he died unto sin, now he lives unto Yahuwah, and death no more has dominion over him. So, if we can foster the idea of what it means for us personally to die unto sin and strive to bring that about, we've already been shown we will be given help from on high. And we ain't got to worry about the second death. So even if we die once, and we know every man is appointed to die at least once, and then the judgment. So you got to worry about skipping out on that one. It's just being in right standing with the Father when your time is up. If we can get that right, we ain't got to worry about dying the second death and being in this lake which burns with fire and brimstone. Eternally. Can't stop, won't stop. Burning. Yeah, that's torment. Remember Ezekiel 16. Let's again look at verses 61 through 63. This is definitely possible for us to do. Just like any routine takes practice, takes perseverance. Because you may get off track, but you got to get back on track. Verse 61. Then you shall remember your ways and be ashamed when you shall receive your sisters, your elder and your younger, and I will give them unto you for daughters, but not by your covenant. And I will establish my covenant with you, and you should know that I am Yahuwah, that you may remember and be confounded, that you never open your mouth any more because of your shame, when I am pacified towards you for all that you have done, says Adonai Yahuwah. This is war. If our efforts in war are going to fare well against the opposition, warfare, we've got to recognize the ways we are assaulted, what the play was, and how did it affect us. These are things to recognize as you go through. Remembering our shame is powerful. If you're getting carried off by a thought or urge, yet you're reminded of your shame, it brings things to a halt. Remember your shame. It's a kind of get out of jail free card, in the sense that it can prevent you from willfully walking into an arrested state. Remember your shame and then ask self, do I need my prayers answered? If the answer is yes, also remember Yahuwah pays no mind to the prayers of sinners. Don't be misguided by the often misinterpreted mercies of Yahuwah. He draws us near. Yeah. He draws us near with loving kindness. Often he overlooks a lot of things in order to get our attention and teach us a higher and greater way to conduct ourselves. To look at the fact Yahuwah answered our prayer or request while we were in a sinful state, and then interpreted his mercy as being all right with or in agreement with whatever we had going on, is not to know Yahuwah. Yahuwah will judge us according to law if we know the law, not according to law if we're ignorant of it. But to know the law exists, yet avoid becoming a student of it for the sake of being judged by a lower standard, this too is foolish and unlearned. Yahuwah is not mocked. For the great judgment leading to eternal death or eternal life is based upon righteous standards, actions, and motives. Men see actions, men look on the outside. Yahuwah examines motives. Why you did X, Y, Z. If you want mercy truly, he may introduce himself as the merciful one, hence him overlooking a barrage of things that are out of place and out of pocket. If you truly seeking mercy and you're sincere about that, he very well may introduce himself, trying to get you to recognize he is the merciful one. It is then up to our desire to thoroughly get to know him or not. Know what is written, understand what is written. Fasting, remembering our shame and where we slipped that caused that shame. Repentance or course correction. Charity, patience. These are some of the weapons of our warfare. Let's look at Revelation chapter 14. Revelation 14, 9 through 13. Revelation 14 and verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahuwah, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends up forever and ever. And they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the Kodeshim. Here are they that guard the commandments of Yahuwah and the belief of Yahushua. That's right. To the law and to the testimony. Have not both of these, there's no light in them. And I heard a voice. Oh, I'm so tempted to delve into that, but I ain't. Leave that alone. Right where it's at. And I mark of the beast, not having both of them. Belief system that's based all around that. But Yeah. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Right, blessed are the dead which die in Yahuwah from henceforth. Yeah, says the Ruach, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. So what we do with the time that we have is critical. Regardless of how much you messed up way back then, if you can get it together now and move forward, he might show you some ways. It's gonna have a cost, but show you some ways where you can tip that scale in your favor by him granting you pardon. How much did the Apostle Paul go through? But he saw where he had a chance to win, and it was well worth it. Verse 12. Here's the patience of the Kodashim. Here are they that guard the commandments of Yahuwah and the belief of Yahusha. Our patience as saints will manifest as we guard his commands in the midst of adversity. Our patience as saints will manifest as we guard and keep his commands and our belief in Yahusha in the midst of adversity. That's why it's such a huge thing to endure unto the end. Because look around, we're living in some interesting times. And for what, the last 4 or 5 years, folks been talking about prepping for when it hits. And I don't think it's really hit here yet. In other words, this ain't how bad it's going to get. We can only imagine what the extent is going to be. But we hope and pray for that Psalm 91 experience. And that only comes if you can tabernacle with the Most High, which is why we looked at what it takes to stand in his presence. And even Daniel fell on his face. So we got to do our best to be on our P's and Q's. But know that your patience is going to be shown through your trials, your fidelity through your trials. Got to be called, then proven, before we can be chosen and become the elect. Called, proven, then chosen. We're not just chosen because we've heard a calling. There's a proving process. Ecclesiasticus chapter 42, or Sirach chapter 42, verses 24 and 25. All praises. Sirach 42, verse 24. All things are double, one against another. He hath made nothing imperfect. Meaning everything's got a reason for its existence. All things are double, one against another. He hath made nothing imperfect. One thing establishes the good or another. And who shall be filled with beholding his glory? In other words, it takes the adversity for our patience to be proven. In his courts, everything has to have evidence. So if we're going to be proven as his, it means we have to be tried and show ourselves as his while we go through our trials. So it behooves us to do our best to keep our minds, no matter what the pressure is, if we got to steal away, to go and gather ourselves before we say something that we can't take back, or before we commit to an action that we can't undo. And that's what it behooves us to do on this journey. Let's look at Matthew chapter 5, 18 and 19. Matthew 5, 18 and 19. Oh, praises. For I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one yod or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the Torah, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of Yahuwah. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of Yahuwah. All praises. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Weapons of our warfare. Part 2. When warring on behalf of others, most times we have to give people space and time to get what they need. And by get what they need, I mean get what they need from on high. Like, if I'm in a bad mental space and subsequently bad space spiritually, and I need to self check for whatever reason, I'm not saying don't try to do told and reel somebody back in. But if you try and your efforts are being met with contention, then it's likely to stave off, give them space and time, coupled with prayer and supplication on their behalf. Now, the move that darkness is going to try to put down is to get you to take it personal. And now you won't even pray for this individual when that's the very thing they need. Give them space and time to get what they need, coupled with prayer and supplication on their behalf. Don't be the excuse for them to hold on to whatever it is that they need to let go. People strive to protect things of value. Thus, we must allow people space and time to garner, to implement, and to measure their results. Give them time and space to accept and or reject whatever it is we're trying to offer them. If it's a told thing, the value ain't going to change. So don't take it personal. Give them space and time. Pray on their behalf. There's one level of warfare to chasten yourself. It's another level to live to make it easier for someone else to chasten themselves. We're not them, so assumption won't help our accuracy in this realm. We have to be in tune with the Creator, allowing Him to direct course. When engaged in this warfare, darkness knows it cannot stop the upright, nor the heavenly host they commune with. Darkness can, however, try to slow the upright to a halt by convincing you to waste time or entertain things rooted in fear. Not fear of your Elohim or his judgments, only fear that doesn't contribute to soul salvation. Darkness would have us to fear the tormented instead of Yahuwah. And that could be Ruachs, that could be people. Those that aren't tormented aren't going to be striving to give you a hard time when you're trying to live uprightly. But those that are suffering torment, the tormented, will go out their way to give you a hard time and don't see what they're doing wrong. For some, things will manifest spiritually, knowing that you can perceive them, just trying to throw you off when they realize you're going in the right direction, trying to slow you up. Or you get to the point to where if you pray for the Father to embolden you, and he has, and it no longer throws you off, although it might catch you off guard, but doesn't throw you off from fearing Yahuwah, even that'll stop. They only run the plays that continue to work. Darkness would have us fear the tormented instead of Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the tormentor. Gonna leave that there. Because literally, that's a whole nother lesson. Learn to decipher. Just know that there is a shame, as I said last week. Seriously, there's a shame that comes with openness. It often takes openness to get new information. New information is often required to gain new life. That new life naturally is going to be accompanied by new mistakes in this new or unfamiliar realm. If we are given the opportunity, yet can't get to the new life, for the sake of the shame we must bear to tread those waters, we may be fearing the tormented more than the tormentor. Don't say you're too old to learn. Gain the information your lineage will need to be in a better position to serve Yahuwah. In closing, it all comes together under the umbrella of education. Education of our people and children. Education on being self controlled in all aspects of life and livelihood. So, whether you're gaining spiritual education or education on how your mind works so that you can better understand why you do what you do, or education that's going to put you in a better position financially to not be rigorously ruled over by whoever's providing the job. All these things are going to cost something, but just like they say in investing, your gains are on the exit, not on the entry. Don't look at what you're going to gain on the entry. Look at what you stand to gain when you exit said thing. Make sure that your reward outweighs your risk. When you see your advantage, with the Father's help and permission, make your move. But that's the lesson. SATC, weapons of our warfare. Just something to think on. Shalom.
All praises. 100% told lesson. Something to truly meditate on and get a grasp on this thing.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's serious business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as his people, ain't no bunkers for us. He is our bunker. And he's counting on us to realize just how much mercy he has shown and is still showing, and counting on us to appreciate it enough to tap in, to pay our vows, and to be led by him, honoring him as our king, seeking truth with whatever comes with it, the shame and everything else, instead of asking for Barabbas so we can keep on doing whatever we've been doing. Like, it's high time to pay up, put up or shut up, because ain't no more captivities after this one. That game is over with. No praises.
Yeah, that part about the education is so deep. We were talking about that the other day, the other night. Like, it's so key, especially when we look at our people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have been destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Like, knowledge of so many things, like bare things.
We wouldn't have been eating the way we've been eating all our lives if we just knew what our body really needed and understood how what we putting in us is affecting us. If we took the time to stop and really pay attention. That's just one example.
Like, yeah, just say, looking at this next generation, it's like it's the knowledge base for those that are without, lesson. Like, each generation, whatever little bit that the generation before did know, the next generation, this is all they know, is you functioning off of the little, barely, and now they don't even have that. And it's like then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse progressively.
Yeah.
To the point to where now it's like it's almost like in some scenarios it's just difficult to even reason and to show that
Mm-hmm.
no, this doesn't make sense. And here's why.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't make sense. Like this lifestyle or this whatever XYZ
Mm-hmm.
does not make sense. There's
Literally,
no sense you can make out of it.
all we got, and we destroying ourselves.
Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, it's really, really deep and it's really, really key because that's that thing that has the ability, like even what we saw with Mashiach, what you brought out earlier, like that's that thing that that arms you with the ability to be able to make it through whatever that situation is that is coming against you. Like just being able to hold on to that little bit of information, like no, for it is written, and man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of mouth of Yahuwah. Like,
So now it don't make sense for me to go do X, Y, Z because now if I honor him, he gonna make sure we all right. Might have to suffer a little while, but we gotta be proven anyway. Much rather do this than have to get beheaded.
Yeah, it's deep. Like, yeah, it's deep. Giving an example right there with Mashiach, putting it on full display. This is how you do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After
all
you're in a
praises.
compromised state. Man, yeah, I knew early on I was more susceptible when I was tired, hungry, or already frustrated about something. Yeah.
I just wanted to list the weapons again overall
All praises.
that was discussed. Talked about to study, fast, pray, obey, to have clarity of mind, knowledge and understanding, charity, and patience. These are some of the weapons that we can use. So yeah, I agree. 12 lesson.
All praises. All praises to the King. Absolutely.
All praises. Yeah, just to add one more to that, just I think you mentioned knowing the Father's expectations of us so that we know what to arm ourselves with at what time, so that we are properly warring and engaging in the proper, in effective warfare,
Yeah.
knowing that I think you said something to the effect of knowing that his expectations for us haven't changed. I think you read what he required then is still required or something like that. So yeah, just bringing that, just adding that also to the weaponry, to the arsenal. And so definitely Tope lesson. I appreciate these lessons because it's very easy. And we were kind of in conversation before the lesson started, just about our weeks, and just it hit me like it's very easy to forget some of these, and I'm not calling any of this basic, but it is very easy to forget basic things during the week. So if you're forgetting basic things throughout the week, how can you engage in higher warfare? Because you brought out, warring for self is one level of warfare, but then you may mention living, I think, I wrote it down here, living to make it easier for someone else to chasten themselves is a whole different level of warfare. You playing chess, not checkers now.
That was that other conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. That was the significance of the priest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why that you can, as a priest, look at Aaron and his sons. Like, he had to understand the Father's righteousness, so much so to the point and be in agreement with it, so much so to the point that his emotions had to take the back seat, even though he just watched his two sons. Like, so yeah.
That's serious.
Mm-hmm.
By all accounts, warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since the fall,
Mm-hmm.
been a rift.
Mm-hmm.
One side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
By nature. by nature you come forth and behave on the wrong side. It
Mhm.
says in one place like from your youth, from your youth, evil is in a man's heart.
Mhm.
And that's why Paul said, yeah, when I was a child, I thought like a child.
Mhm.
Now that I'm a man,
Mhm.
I got to consider deeply and more
Mhm.
highly and know what my expectations are.
Mhm.
And we face a lot throughout these days and weeks. That's why it behooves us to make time
Mhm.
to commune with the Father and with like minded individuals.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like the Father's literally personally showing me my warfare is to do all that I can to make it easy for my household to keep His ways,
Mhm.
and He's got the rest.
Mhm.
Like, this is my warfare. If
Mhm.
I literally have physical issues around the house I need to take care of that as well as doing my best to take care of
Mhm.
the expenses that come with day to day living,
Mhm.
and not thinking that because I've done that, now I can slip up spiritually.
Mhm.
Like, no. But if I
Mhm.
can, with His help and permission, take care of those things, He's literally got the rest. He's
Mhm.
not asking us to jump through hoops or to reconfigure ourselves in order to commune with Him. He's just showing us what it means to head a household, be a effective factor in the household,
Mhm.
so that His ways can continue on to the next generation.
Mhm.
Generation.
Mhm.
And and just speaking to that, like had a household situation, we were talking about this the other morning, probably a couple weeks ago or a week ago or so. I don't know how long ago. The days, you know. But we were speaking to it how we kind of notice at different times we'll be going through on a grand scale the same lesson, but on a more individual scale, the Father brings it to me in a manner in which it makes sense to me and it will resonate with me, and He'll bring it to you in a manner in which it will resonate with you. hmm For example, just noticing the compounding of things and just speaking to like what you were talking about, the him teaching us how to run a household, teaching you how to be the head of household, teaching me how to assist the head of household and hold it down while the head of household is doing what head of household needs to do. What does the shoulders need to do? you know, like, mm, you know? And so we were speaking about this the other morning and we were just talking about, because it can be overwhelming if you let it get over, like not just if you let it, that's the wrong thing. If you look at it from a perspective of like, oh my gosh, I can't, no, we can't do this. We can't do this. Through Hamashiach, I can do all things through Hamashiach, though, who strengthens me. And so noticing, all right, yeah, I got to get this done. This cannot go undone. But at the same time, this, it can't go undone either. I got to pick up and do this as well as this because the needs are greater. Everybody's maturing in the household, everybody's growing, things are happening in the household that you can't even just name. It's just so much going on day in and day out. And so everything compounds. And that's just life in general, like it says, to the law and to the testimony. You can't do or have one without the other. Just like warfare, warring for self is one level of warfare, but you have to get to a point where you are living to make it easier for someone else to war as well. Like it's like you said, all things are dual. All things are twofold. It's a surface level to things and there's a much deeper level to things. And I just appreciate the Father for being so magnificent and so powerful that he shows that even in the minute, even in the small things, he shows that to us. Even in something as so simple as I don't know what can I. I'll probably think of a better example later, an example later. But he shows us in the minute things, like he shows us in the minute day to day things, like something like super small, you know. But yeah,
All praises. All praises. That be all.
oh well, yeah, that's it.
We gonna bid all shalom.
All praises to the Most High. Yeah, if that's everything, we're gonna definitely say shalom to everybody. May the Most High keep you. May He hear you in your time of distress. May He make you exponentially more than you are this day. May that be for your tov and not for your destruction. All praises to the Most High. Do not forget to check us out. Check out our Facebook page, Rock Ministry Renaissance. It's all spelled out on Facebook. Renaissance of Covenant Keepers. On there, we have, and I know we just got out of the feast days, but if you still want some feast day resources for your littles, we do have those available for the little people. Feast day workbook, feast day worksheets, and little games and things like that to keep their little minds busy, little hands busy, and stuff like that. It might make a good a Tove review at some point in the year. That'll be available for free, and it's going to stay up for free for whomever. Also, periodically we do put out our Sabbath school, which is Rivka and the Yellow Deem. We did another one of those today. So also check out the Facebook Renaissance of Covenant Keepers on Facebook and on Hebrew Connect, because we upload our coloring sheets that help us remember our memory verses on there. So you can download, screenshot, download however you can those coloring sheets, print them off. Again, let your littles color those. If you like coloring, color them yourself, and it helps to just solidify and help to remember the scripture, that we may hide the word in our hearts and teach these little ones from their youth on up into their old age, that they may go in the way that the Most High has ordained for them to go. All praises to the Most High. So don't forget, check out our Sabbath school with this Rivka and the Yellow Deem. I do also upload our Sabbath stories, our Sabbath scripture stories. These are just little Bible stories that are condensed. Don't laugh at me, y'all. Don't laugh at me, y'all. I do my best, okay? My little voiceovers and stuff. I do my best, So if you don't want to watch the whole lesson, but you do want to get some scripture stories in, that is available too. Check those out. I'll make a playlist of all of those that I've put together, because we got a few of those. Now, eventually you're going to have, Most High willing, a whole playlist of Sabbath stories for the children to watch and to, just have more resources. But other than that, that is it. We will bid you farewell and adieu. Shalom, everybody.